Hello, welcome to Context. I'm Anastasia Lavrina. Tonight we focus on the South Caucasus, a region with profound historical and geopolitical significance. In recent days, all eyes have turned to the visit of German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier to Armenia, followed by his upcoming visit to Azerbaijan. However, the visit comes at a time of heightened sensitivity. Earlier, the German president's office posted an image of the flag associated with the former Armenian separatist regime in the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan. Recognizing the mistake, Germany quickly issued an apology to Azerbaijan, reaffirming its commitment to impartiality in the region. Amidst this diplomatic mishap, Germany's role remains crucial in shaping the European Union's approach to the South Caucasus. As one of the EU's most influential member states, Germany's involvement is key to fostering peace, stability, and cooperation in the region. So tonight we'll examine Germany's involvement role in the South Caucasus, how it is influencing EU foreign policy, and the delicate balance it must strike in its economic, diplomatic, and security interests. Joining me now is Klaus Jürgens, political analyst, Economy First Limited, London. More welcome to our program.
Thank you, Anastasia. Hello.
Thank you. So, Klaus, to begin, can you give us your perspectives on the significance of German president visit to Armenia and Azerbaijan? What does this visit mean for Germany's engagement with the South Caucasus region?
Well, I don't want to overstress the word historic, but as you know, of course, it is basically a first. And I think it underlines the interest, not only the President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, but in general, which has in the Southern Caucasus, which I actually welcome very much. I welcome it very much for two reasons. First of all, there are still misunderstandings. I'm not only mentioning Germany, but I'm mentioning France. There could be other countries. And at the same time, it is a sign that Berlin is fully aware of the peace process, which should be resolved hopefully very, very, very soon. We know we will probably talk about the aspect of the constitution from the Armenian side. But the fact that the president not only visits one country, but visits both countries, underlines, according to me, that Berlin fully understands the significance of close relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan, that they want to look into the future, that they want to find out how, if can Germany help, is there anything left what can be mediated, but assuming looking into the future, what are the other subjects? What are the potential bilateral issues? What are potential regional issues, political, civil society, business, what have you? So it is quite significant. And a final point, if I may, now we talk about the media. We are live doing a television program courtesy of yourself and your fine station. Now, of course, media in Germany will very, very closely follow every step of President Steinmeier and his delegation. They will cover it, they will write about it, and perhaps for the first time there will be a non-biased perspective, actually taking Azerbaijan much more seriously than many German media colleagues did in the past. So, yes, historic is a term overused, but very significant for the region, very significant for German foreign policy, and I hope a good issue for my media colleagues in Germany.
Yes, indeed, there are a lot of interest in the development of bilateral relations, but still the diplomatic mishap involving the flag of the former Armenian separatist regime in Karabakh has generated a lot of attention. How do you think this incident will impact Germany's relations with Azerbaijan? And in your view, how important it is for Germany to demonstrate impartiality in its approach to the South Caucasus?
Yes, impartiality, that is the key, Anastasia. Now, what is the good news? Very, very quickly after this serious diplomatic mishap, or error, whatever is the right terminology, there was the official apology. Now, I read the official apology once or twice, and I read every word, and I wanted to read in between the lines. As far as the president's office, and this, of course, does not go without that the Foreign Office is actually involved, step by step. I think the apology is sincere. Something went wrong. I don't think it was intentional on behalf of the delegation or the president himself. I would assume someone in his inner circle made this mistake and then clearly remedied it. But look, this underlines absolutely what I'm always talking about. So much more positive news should be broadcast in Germany, less biased, but showing modern Azerbaijan with all its richness, cultural, political, historical, business. And then those mistakes would no longer happen because someone would say, be careful not that we do a mistake like this with regards to flags or Armenia or inciting someone on the Azerbaijan side. But yes, I must admit, a big mishap. It should not happen in diplomacy. But then if you are a trained diplomat like our president is, he told them, the team remedied immediately, sent an official apology. I hope that topic should now be laid to rest. The visit and the meetings are far too important. And I think the president's office and the foreign office, they got the message. Something was wrong and it should not be repeated.
So Armenia has repeatedly expressed its desire to become a member of the European Union. What challenges does Armenia face in achieving this goal, and how do you think Germany can play a key role here in supporting Armenia's EU integration process, if there is any possibility for that?
Well, now you've got me, Anastasia. This is the topic of enlargement, EU enlargement, which I'm working on decades long, I can't remember. Now, of course, when a German president comes along and listens to his Armenian partners, and the Armenian partners are very keen and eager that the president goes back to Berlin and then tells the counterparts in the European Union, look, there is a new candidate country coming our way. But if I'm not wrong, the only candidate country which should join the European Union first, if any, is the Republic of Turkey. And telling other countries, yes, one day you will join, one day you can join. Yes, of course, you can become a candidate country one day. I think that even in the circles around the Commission buildings and the Council and the Parliament buildings in Brussels and Strasbourg and Luxembourg, even there is an honest debate going on about absorption capacity. Yes, Armenia is a small country, not comparable to Turkey, of course not, size, population, impact. But I would rather, in particular because of the close relations between Germany and Turkey, hope that one day, in this new geopolitical role, wars and uprisings and people being killed on a daily basis, there is a new geopolitical order. And peace has to come as quickly as possible to all four corners of the world. And Turkey can play a vital role in this. And Germany could become a close ally, actually, in finally paving the way that Turkey one day will join. So I'm not saying Armenia should not join, but I think there should be priorities from the side of Brussels. Who should join first?
Right, and the South Caucasus is not just a political hotspot, but also an economically significant region. How important are economic ties, such as trade and energy cooperation, in Germany's foreign policy approach to Armenia and Azerbaijan?
Well, I mean, you followed the agenda, of course, of President Steinmeier, and I was quite impressed because he actually spoke about innovation in Armenia. He went to a meteorological scientific facility. There is actually scope for B2B business meetings, investment. So I think there was a clear agenda, not only coming as a cultural, say hello, I am the president and nice to be here, but actually have something in his luggage, political, economic luggage, which might pave the way for closer cooperation. Now, this is what was on the agenda in Armenia. If I'm not mistaken, in your fine country, similar topics at the same time: civil society, role of women in society, education. But then again, how can climate change after COP29? I think there's a huge agenda, to be honest. And even if only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 issues later on will materialize as closer bilateral cooperation, first Armenia, Germany, second Azerbaijan, Germany, then your point is so vital, you might consider the entire region. If peace, hopefully, everlasting peace has been established between your nation and Armenia, and if the region is going to prosper, starting with these 2 countries, the entire Southern Caucasus might prosper. Investment will come, education, universities, schools. Then, of course, civil society. Some people always underestimate the power of civil society. Some people say where business goes first, tourists follow. Some would say it's exactly the opposite. Where tourists go first, business will follow. Why not do both at the same time? I think people meeting each other, learning from each other, they actually can build bridges between the nations. So if this is on President Steinmeier's agenda as well, hard facts, but then the soft power of cultural dialogue. I think the visit, although it's short, of course it's short, but I think it can yield quite some results, not only for the 2 nations, Armenia and Azerbaijan, for the entire region. Absolutely, absolutely. And think, if I may, Anastasia, only think about the windfall profit scenario. Now here's Germany, huge, influential EU country still, despite all the criticism and governments recently coming and going or not going. At the same time, there is still a lot of influence from the side of Berlin on other major players in the European Union. And from the cultural dimension, I simply have to mention it. You know my attitude towards this, and why not say it one more time? There are still misunderstandings favoring the Armenian rhetoric very often with regards to Azerbaijan, not necessarily from the German side, but we have very often a French issue. You know it so much better than me. And why not use this visit to bring a positive message back home, same like the positive COP29 message? Azerbaijan can deliver, and they will deliver in many fields. So it's good for Armenia that the president is there. I think it's very good for Azerbaijan as well. And now let's hope that the president later on has the ball in his court and will do quite a bit of lobbying. I hope so.
I guess you will agree with me that Germany is balancing its relations with both Armenia and Azerbaijan. So how does Germany navigate this delicate geopolitical landscape, and what challenges it may face in maintaining this balance?
Well, let me be a little bit cynical here. Only me, not the topic, of course. This balancing act is only now beginning. You know, I'm very, very outspoken about this. For a long time, relations between Berlin and Armenia, between Paris and Armenia, were simply 10 times better when compared with relations between Baku and Berlin and, for example, Paris. It was never Azerbaijan's fault. So this is what I want to make very clear. So this balancing act is only now starting. And this makes me reasonably optimistic, which I'm not always. You know me a little bit. I'm not pessimistic, but you have to be realist, realpolitik. Yes, the balancing act will now start. The media, politicians, stakeholders, investors, they will say all of a sudden Berlin is actually dealing with both Armenia and Azerbaijan on an equal footing. And how has this happened? What is happening? And they will try to understand what is actually going on in modern Azerbaijan. So please don't underestimate the, you say the balancing act. How does Germany deal with it? I think, as I said, a little bit cynical, meant with all, of course, admiration and respect for the president and the politicians in Germany. I think There was no balancing act in the past. There was biased reporting, biased thinking. Armenia does everything right and Azerbaijan does everything wrong. And I hope that this visit will exactly start this balancing act, that you talk with both countries, that you respect both nations, and then see how can these two bring greater prosperity to a wider region, and what could, for example, Germany help. Yes, first of all, listening, understanding. One day, of course, it is about investment. It is about cooperation in science and in education, yeah, luckily. But yes, I think the balancing act is only now to begin.
And previously you mentioned about Turkey bet with Russia's influence in the region. Do you believe Germany, as a part of the EU, can play a more active role in mediating the peace talks or fostering a long-term resolution between Armenia and Azerbaijan and the region of the South Caucasus?
Well, if a visit like this and follow-up visits actually lead to mutual trust and mutual understanding between all three nations, I think, yes, it is possible having an ally in the European Union who is not seen as an enemy but as a friend, and not only by words but actually by deeds. It will have a very, very positive impact. And then we add the European Union dimension. And again, I'm leaning a little bit too far outside of the journalistic window here, but we have so many issues going on with the new Donald Trump administration. The tariffs, just spoke about it on another program. Agricultural tariffs, what have you, 25% here, and steel and cars, and the trade war is looming on the horizon. Why not start in this region, the Southern Caucasus, via peace between and amongst your two nations, the wider region prospering, becoming a kind of mini internal market, not copying the European Union, but more trade, more civil society, more education, more culture, anything, more travel. Yes, of course, talking about politics. Once peace is there, talking about politics is no longer an issue. Why not think about that Europeans plus the Southern Caucasus nations and its peoples and its leaders can actually achieve the kind of regional cooperation which is pretty much independent from what is going on global level. You still have to deal, of course, with from China to North America and what have you. Yes, I don't want to talk about splendid isolation, but why not cooperate more closely? Why not look at what went wrong in the European Union internal market and what could be done better on a much more regional level? There is another such area coming up very shortly, and that's the Eastern Mediterranean, the energy Eastern Mediterranean. Can you imagine if from Greece to Egypt and all the countries in between, via peaceful dialogue and better understanding, a kind of regional energy market is set up? Why not think about the Southern Caucasus as a kind of regional economic, business, innovation, technology, climate change, civil society? I'm always stressing this. I think we have to think out of the box, to be honest. So many things are changing in our world, day to day. Why not risk something new, something never ever heard about? And peace between your two nations is the absolute key for this. And then the lobbying in Brussels, and maybe starting in Berlin, going to all the other capitals and tell them, look, something has changed. Now we talk with both partners and not only with Armenia. We have learned our lesson. Why not? This is the optimist part. And a politician needs to learn. A politician should be able to learn. And you mentioned the letter, the apology after this
yes,
diplomatic
sent to the Hikmet Hajiyev, actually.
Is this not a sign that politicians? Yes, is this not a sign that politicians can learn? I mean, it's. I'm overdoing it here. Of course, it has not changed the world, but they realized the seriousness. If you go to two countries, you have to treat both with the same respect, the same attention, the same acceptance. of what are their wishes. And then if the two countries want to come together, you must understand that, look, what were the issues in the past? Have they been overcome? Almost, yes. Now the constitution is, of course, still the problem. Hoping that this is, I'm saying far too often the word hope today, looking forward, I should say. Yes, true. Think about a regional kind of mini internal market. Why not?
So can we conclude our today's conversation saying that this visit can actually help European Union to better understand the situation in the region and probably specific contributions of Germany it can make to strengthen the EU's position in the region?
Absolutely, yes. It is a historic visit. Go back into time, there were reasons why it never happened. Now it does happen. And President Steinmeier would not travel to your region unless he would have a plan. You know, it is not like waking up one morning and say, where do I go today? He is a very well experienced, highly respected politician. Some actually say he's doing much, much better foreign policy than, if I may say so, the boss of the Foreign Office. You know, we have lots of debates going on in Germany, who is actually representing Germany on the international scene the best. And, you know, our president basically has a protocol role. He is not the chancellor. He doesn't have the so-called Richtlinien competence, which means he doesn't set the guidelines for domestic or international policy making. But representing the nation outside of Germany, this is what the world usually would say, this is the president's role, much more than the chancellor. So he's taking absolutely seriously. So, and then he comes back, he will talk with his colleagues in other European capitals. And of course they will ask. They will ask what's going on in Armenia, what's going on in Azerbaijan, what's going on down there. Tell us. Now, let's assume that a very well experienced politician will say what is going on. And I'm pretty sure that he will take a very positive message on his first visit. Stop, but definitely from your country too.
Well, Klaus, thank you. Thank you so much for joining our talk today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to remind our viewers that today with us we had Mr. Klaus Jürgens, political analyst, Economy First Limited, London, who joined our talk from Austria. So dear viewers, do stay with A News and see you soon.